David and Goliath is a 2015 Christian movie directed by Tim Che. When interviewed by Christian Post, he put a strong emphasis on this movie being biblically accurate, as opposed to other Bible-based movies made around the same time. Let's cut straight to the chase here. This movie is awful. The cinematography is just bad. They repeatedly use the same stock footage clips, and there are very few close-ups. I'm no movie expert, but I can tell the difference between what looks professional and not. The acting is just brutal. All the bad guys are extremely one-dimensional and cliched. Even the seemingly decent actors did poorly because they didn't have much to work with. The script is awful. They constantly repeat lines and scenes. About 40 minutes of the movie is just people trying to talk David out of fighting Goliath.
You cannot win, shepherd boy.
Your show of bravery is impressive, lad. But let it go, young David.
I wish you could, young David.
I can't let you do this.
You cannot win. It's suicide, you hear me?
God cannot save you, David!
It's impossible. I don't think you can do it.
Father will be devastated.
Goliath literally repeats the same lines the entire movie. The dialogue is poorly written and not compelling. The CGI is not that good either, despite Tim Che saying it would be quote-unquote state-of-the-art. In several scenes, you can clearly see the green screen sky in the background. The costumes... just take a look yourself. The entire movie they're talking about huge armies, but there are maybe 30 unique actors on both sides. When you have two huge armies in a movie, you kinda need lots of extras. The choreography is not well done. People are constantly walking back and forth in every single shot. It would be normal for the time, I guess, except eventually it begins to not look natural anymore. And you start to ask yourself, where are all these people going? After a while, you can tell they're making a specific effort to do that, and it gets very distracting. Speaking of distracting, this green screen horse goes back and forth in frame constantly. The entire movie. There are numerous continuity problems, plot holes, weird cuts, and just sloppy mistakes. The entire movie was filmed on one location, at various points in the Moroccan desert. Apparently they also did some stuff in London, but I'm pretty sure that was all in studio. I'll cap off this segment by saying this. I've seen a lot of Christian movies, and I can assure you that this is the worst one by far, and I don't say that lightly. I would probably be easier on this movie if it was some indie film company that was making their first movie and they didn't quite succeed. This is not the first movie Tim Che has directed, and while none of his previous movies were masterpieces, they all seem far better than this, just by comparing trailers. And here we have it. The reason why I'm so mad. This movie's budget was, drumroll please, $50 million. $50 million. That's a lot of money. Not counting Noah, Exodus, Gods and Kings, and the Chronicles of Narnia movies, which aren't really Christian, this makes David and Goliath the highest budgeted Christian movie ever. $50 million is over twice the budget of similar movies made within a couple years, Son of God and Risen. Neither of these movies are perfect, but they both have far better filming, acting, and writing. They both had dozens of realistic-looking sets, and the costumes look far better. So where did that budget go? As you can see, they can't have spent that much on effects, sets, and costumes. And the acting and writing are not that good. Here's the only explanation I can think of. They thought they would cash in on this Bible-based movie trend and make well over the $50 million they raised. So they cheaped out, took huge salaries, did a poor job, and made 1/158th of their budget. Yeah, sounds about right. After watching the movie and seeing and reading some interviews after, something about Tim Che's attitude kind of annoyed me. He seems to have a habit of blaming other people. And he gets very defensive when people criticize his movies. In the aforementioned Christian Post article, he said, "However, even if a small cheesy film can win just one person to Christ, then let's be careful not to mock it like so many cruel Christians do. Well, it has to be God. I had reached the point in March 2012 where I was very discouraged at continuing to do Christian films. We were constantly being ridiculed by the secular media. Our films were being sabotaged by online piracy, and fellow jealous Christians were mocking us, saying the acting was bad, script was horrible, etc., etc. Thousands of people were coming to Christ, so why did I let that bother me? I don't know. The Lord showed me clearly it was a spiritual attack. I repented and began to trust the Lord again." A Christian mentor of mine made this point about evangelism. Telling people that they're evangelizing the wrong way is very hard because God uses even the most foolish methods. You're basically saying, you claim my movies are awful, but I saved someone through my awful movie, so my movie can't be that awful after all. Nah, your movie still sucks, but it's more of a testament to God's power that he could save someone through your awful movie. Think about how many more could have been saved if unbelievers actually respected your movie, Christianity aside. In the parable of talents, the first guy turned 5 into 10, the second turned 2 into 4, and the last guy didn't do anything with the one. God has given us the chance to steward the gifts, opportunities, and talents he's given us to advance his kingdom. Not that many people saw this movie. It made $300,000 in theaters. $10 per ticket, maybe 30,000 people. Even if they sold a bunch of DVDs, that's still maybe 100,000 people. With $50 million, they could have made a considerably better movie that way more people would have seen. Think about how many people could have been saved then. And if your main concern was people being saved, with that $50 million, you could have just fully funded 5,000 overseas missionaries for a year. The makers of this movie had the opportunity to reflect God with a great movie, inspire countless believers, and give countless unbelievers a Christian message. But instead of doing that, they took huge shortcuts and a huge paycheck for themselves. That's dishonest, selfish, and poor stewardship. And God is clearly not happy about that. So maybe before you doubt the salvation of everyone that criticizes your movie, look in the mirror to see if you're really setting a good example yourself. This is a reminder to everyone, including me. Are we really stewarding the gifts God has given us? Are we making a net profit with them and multiplying them? Or are we hoarding them, like the guy that selfishly buried his coin and didn't do anything? This is a reality check. Make the best of the opportunities, gifts, and talents that have been given to you. Because one day, you won't have the opportunity to use them anymore. Because you got decapitated by a teenager 3.5 feet shorter than you.
Father will be devastated.
I see you! Come down here! I hate your guts! You coward! Nobody can defeat me! I will feed you to the birds! Nobody can defeat me! You coward! You little maggot! I am God! You